This is Photoshop from the ground up. I'm your host, Peter Law. In this lesson, we're going to look at the hue saturation adjustment. Now, I've got an image open here of a boardwalk that I shot a couple days ago, and there are areas of this image that are quite saturated, this part of the sky over here. There's areas of the image that aren't very saturated at all, this gray wood, and maybe there's some areas here that I hope I could make pop a little bit more by adding a little bit of saturation. So in order to create saturation or bring up the hue saturation dialog box, I'm going to go to my image menu, choose adjustments, and then go down to hue saturation. It's going to bring up the dialog box right here, and I've got 3 sliders. And we've just got, this is what we would call a global adjustment. This is master right here, and so I can change the saturation. I can push it so far that all the colors clip, or I could push it all the way back down to the end and I'll get a version of a black and white, although not necessarily the best black and white that I could get out of Photoshop. I've also got this lightness and darkness slider, which, to be honest, I rarely ever touch. It's not terribly useful when dealing with photographic subjects. And then we've got the hue slider, which when you're dealing with everything, when you start moving this over, you're going to get a color shift on every single color, so it's going to start to look, well, kind of funny. So I'm just going to send this back to 0. And I'm going to 0 that out as well. So what we can do with hue saturation, though, is we can bring up the saturation as a whole, or we can do it up in a particular color range. I can pick my color from this drop-down menu, or, more helpfully, I can click on this little guy here, and then I can click and drag left and right to saturate or desaturate. So if I decide that I want this water over here to maybe pop a little bit more, I'm going to click here and drag over to the right, and that's going to add some saturation to the blues. If I decide I want the sky a little more saturated, I might click in the sky and drag, and it's going to go with the cyans. If I decide that, let me move this dialog box a little bit here. Maybe I want to bring this up. I can move that, but then you'll notice I'm using the yellows right now that I'm starting to really start to saturate that part of the sky. So maybe we'll dial that back just a little bit. So you'll notice then that I can go through color by color and pick the level of saturation, which is helpful. One thing to watch out for, sometimes you'll get a color that's kind of between some of these. You'll get a sky, for instance, it's a combination of blues and magentas. And if you adjust the adjacent colors, you know, if you adjust the blues and really make them pop and not the cyans or vice versa, then you might end up with some really funny looking stuff in the let's come in here. In the sky, you might increase the noise levels. Like, for instance, if I take the cyan, bring it all the way back, and take the blue all the way up, you see how I've got this sort of noisy transition between the tones here. So it's something you need to watch. And something I should mention, if at any time you want to reset the settings in a dialog box, if you hold down your Option key on the Mac or your Alt key on the PC, the Cancel button becomes a reset button. So I'm just going to click that over there. And what I wanted to do was, well, anyways, you saw what I did. I made that area pop a little bit by clicking here, dragging over a little bit, clicking here, dragging over a bit, yeah, like that. Now, there's also another use for this, and that's toning. If I want to apply a specific color to the entire image, I can just click this Colorize checkbox. Now, the hue wheel actually comes in handy. I'm going to pick a color from the hue wheel, so maybe I'll pick a sepia color, sort of around here, the 45 on the color wheel, and then I can pick a saturation. So this will end up being like a black and white image or a colorized image depending on how much of the saturation I dial in. So if I were to dial in, yeah, around here, and of course I'm just going to leave that lightness value alone again, then I have a great way to just pick a color that I want to apply to the whole image. So on the whole, it's a great way to use the hue saturation command. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at fromthegrounduppodcast@gmail.com. Drop by my website at plphotodesign.com. Until next time, this is Photoshop from the ground up, and I'm Peter Law.